Hey guys, Babs Money here with the next episode of Dragatha Christie's Unsolved Mysteries. Today's look is inspired by one of my favorite queens, Amelia Waldorf. She was one of the contestants on the second season of La Más Draga, which is a YouTube series. It's kind of like RuPaul's Drag Race, but for queens from Mexico City and surrounding areas in Mexico that do drag, which was really interesting to me because it's a lesser known scene in Mexico because it's still kind of problematic so far as society says, which sucks, but Amelia Waldorf was one of my favorites, and for her La Más Piñata look, she did pink and yellow and sad eyebrows and freckles, and that's what I was going for with this look. Specifically because she is a makeup-oriented queen, and the subject of my case today is a makeup artist. This is also the start of my North Carolina-based content. This episode is about a murder from 1967 in the Outer Banks of North Carolina in a town called Manteo. That area is known for being the area that is the same setting for the Lost Colony mystery a couple hundred years ago, where a whole colony of people disappeared and no one knows what happened to them. To this day, the only clues were the word Croatoan on a tree trunk, and then I want to say on another tree trunk, it might have been another surface. I want to say it was a tree trunk. Sue me if I'm wrong. Please don't, actually, I'm poor. Crow. C-R-O. The mystery I'm referencing today is the Lost Colony murder. That's what it was known as in the press. It occurred in July of 1967 in Manteo, North Carolina. It was the very first weekend of July. There was a woman named Brenda Joyce Holland. She was 19 years old. She was the makeup supervisor for the Lost Colony play, which was the annual production of the Lost Colony mystery that happened back in the day when the girls were like, oh my god, where did they go? Where are they? And the only clues they had was Croatoan and Crow. She was a makeup supervisor. She always wanted to go to Broadway. She had high goals, ambitions, and aspirations to go a lot further in life than just being the makeup supervisor of a play in Manteo, North Carolina. The last time Brenda was seen by the public, at least, was after the play. She went home with an actor by the name of Danny Barber. I would say she spent the night with him, but she didn't spend the entire night. She ended up walking home at some point, but he had already passed out. And so the last time she was seen alive was by Danny at his house. I about said, son, honey, what's that? She disappeared without a trace. No one ever saw her again. It wasn't until 5 days later that her body would be found washed up against a tree stump in the Albemarle Sound. She was found strangled. Her body was basically naked. Her blouse and shoes were gone. All she had left was her skirt and a leopard print bathing suit leotard kind of garment that was under her actual clothes, and she wore a necklace that bore an homage to her hometown, which was in western North Carolina. That was a necklace that was from the 1966 Miss Haywood County pageant where she was Miss Congeniality. At the time, it was the most high-profile murder in Dare County, which is and isn't saying much because it was Dare County, which is, I don't want to say one of the smaller counties of North Carolina, but it is in the Outer Banks. There's not much really going on there, so it wasn't a very eventful town. So it was and wasn't one of the biggest things going on. With that being said, no leads really came forward, which is crazy. This bitch was walking home in not broad daylight, but like in the middle of the evening, and then she got goop goop smothered in gravy crackled. The bitch is gone. Without a trace. Gone, girl. Do you hear me? Also, I need to moisturize my throat. Do you hear me? That's real good. Real good for me. As I was saying, no one really knew what had happened to her. And a couple newspapers and websites had interviewed Brenda's sister, Kim Thorne, her younger sister, and she said multiple times that she felt like the case wasn't investigated thoroughly enough and that it was because of the good old boys club that no one was ever really brought to justice. Which brings me to who we think might have done it. In 1986, there was an article brought to Kim about a woman named Dottie Fry, who was the ex-wife of a dentist by the name of Dr. Linus Edwards, who at one point was the only dentist in Manteo, North Carolina. He was the town dentist, and for many years people thought that he was the one that had murdered Brenda Holland, because many people have commented on how much Brenda Holland and Dottie Fry resemble each other. And a long-standing theory in the community is that one night Dr. Edwards and his then wife Dottie got into a disagreement. He threatened Dottie, and Dottie left the house, and he followed her, found Brenda Holland, mistook her for Dottie, strangled her, and cast her body into the Albemarle Sound. A woman came forward in interviews later who was the stepdaughter of Dr. Edwards, who talked about how she witnessed him abusing her mother. There have been many accounts of Dr. Edwards abusing his spouses. So it is not unlikely that he did indeed kill Brenda Holland that night, thinking she was his wife Dottie, and threw her body into the Sound. So this is one of those cases that is unsolved in the regard that many people feel like they know what happened, they know who did it. It's just that justice wasn't served. Because here's the kicker. Dr. Edwards killed himself in 1971. There was an afternoon where he was sitting in his kitchen and he called the police, and he wanted the police to be there, his attorney, and the town doctor. The first person who got there was Dwight Wellis, who was the town attorney, who was actually Dr. Edwards' attorney as well, who saw that he had shot himself in the head. And there was a notepad with him. Dwight reported that there was nothing but some mathematical figures on the notepad. But bitch, you know what I think? Hell no. He had his fucking note on there. He said, I killed Brenda, baby. And you know what I'm about to do? Blang, blang, bang. You know what I'm saying? Like, he killed her ass. That's the tea. But anyways, you know what I think happened? Exactly what everyone else thinks happened. I think that he killed her and that she got gold. Back to what I was saying happened earlier. There was an article brought to her about Dottie, who had said that Dr. Edwards had told her that he had killed Brenda, accidentally thinking it was her. Accidentally is a fun word, right? But that is how it happened. And so we know who did it. However, this was 15 years after he killed himself. So there was no way to bring him to justice. So this is one of those cases that's unresolved. It's solved, but it's not resolved. Justice was never properly served. He died before justice could be served. However, depending on your belief, maybe justice was served. Maybe he's burning in brimstone and fire right now. Fire and brimstone, whatever. Who gives a shit? Anyways, maybe that's what's happening to him right now. But who's to say? We don't know. But you know, so far as the living realm, the mortal world, justice was not served. And this is just one of those lesser known cases of North Carolina, like I mentioned in my pilot episode, that there were cases I had never known even an inkling about. And this is one of them. I had never heard anything about the Lost Colony murder of 1967. And here we are. So I want to know what you guys think about what happened, because what I personally think is what everyone else thinks, is that he got into an argument with his wife, thought it was Brenda when he followed her out into the road, killed her, dumped her body into the Sound, and here we are, bitch. I really want to know what you think happened to Brenda, because to this day, her sister thinks her murder was never thoroughly investigated enough, and that the good old boys club prevented Dr. Linus Edwards from ever being brought to justice properly, even after he killed himself. So, what do you think? That's the question. Girl, that took the life out of me, which means I gotta take a hit real quick, so hold on. I just want to know what you think happened. Intrigue me. Illuminate me, as Lisa Rowe would say on Girl Interrupted. I'm coming at you next week with another episode of Dragatha Christie's Unsolved Mysteries. And y'all ain't gonna believe the shit I'm covering next episode. You wanna know why, Miss Thing? Because it's gonna be some crazy shit. You may have heard of it, you may have not. Probably haven't, because I hadn't heard of it before I researched it. So guess what? You better get into it, because it's gonna be a gig. Good night, money chasers. Until next time. Oh, shit!